President Trump is in Japan this morning as part of a high-stakes trip to Asia. He met with that country's new prime minister, who had plenty of praise for Donald Trump, and Donald Trump, plenty of praise for her. It was mutual, but they did not announce any new trade deals. The two leaders also appeared at one point before U.S. troops at a naval base, all of this happening against a backdrop of military and trade tensions with China. Nancy Cordes has a new stamp in her passport. She's in Tokyo for us. Nancy, good morning.
Good morning, Tony. Yeah, and a lot of what the president is doing here in Japan is designed to project strength in advance of his meeting with China's president later this week. And so he announced that Japan would be receiving a new shipment of missiles for F-35s within the week, and he touted new economic partnerships with Japan, too.
In her diplomatic debut as prime minister, Sanae Takaichi heaped praise on President Trump and vowed to make new investments in the U.S. By the time they toured a U.S. aircraft carrier south of Tokyo, the two were fast friends.
The first female prime minister in the history of Japan, Madam Prime Minister.
They signed an agreement to work together to extract critical rare earth minerals, key components in everything from cars to fighter jets.
We are an ally at the strongest level.
It's the third such agreement Trump has signed since China threatened to restrict access to its own rare earths. And China processes more than 90% of the world's supply.
I think the Chinese have withheld it because they're in a poker game with the United States.
Nicholas Burns was U.S. ambassador to China under President Biden. He says the world is watching to see if Trump and China's President Xi Jinping can diffuse 6 months of trade tension.
What's the impact for American consumers if President Trump and President Xi don't strike a trade deal?
Well, continued high tariffs would really be consequential for the global economy. It would grind to a halt most of the trade between China and the U.S.
Chinese officials say they reached a, quote, preliminary consensus with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent in talks over the weekend. Trump and Xi are set to sit down in South Korea on Thursday.
I think we're going to have a successful transaction for both countries.
Trump is wrapping up here in Japan and then heads to South Korea, but he told reporters he'd be open to extending his trip if there was a chance that he could meet with North Korea's reclusive dictator Kim Jong-un. Now, there's no confirmation that that's going to happen, but it was a surprise the last time the two met back in 2019. Gayle?
All right, Nancy, thank you very much.